life of every film, there comes a time when the producers need to find an audience. It's time to call in.
I'm here.
The distributors.
I'm gonna bust this thing wide open.
Ready to begin.
Roll cameras!
Even before a film is completed, a number of questions will be going through the producer's mind. Who will want to see the film? Why will they want to see the film? And how will they be persuaded to see it? It's the task of the film distributor to bring a film into the movie marketplace.
What distributors do, the whole business of bringing films to market, launching them to audiences, delivering cinema goers to cinemas film by film, week by week, is a whole business process which is fast-moving, highly competitive, very strategic. Every film has its own release plan to begin with, and very creative as well.
I think you have to forget your personal opinions, forget your personal tastes, look at what you've got as a movie and decide how you're going to promote that and promote it to as many people as possible.
Only a small minority of people go to the cinema and then look at what's on and then make their choice. And because it's the distributor's job to deliver an audience to each individual film, something is working clearly if the audience arrives at the cinema knowing what film they want to see.
The films that we can see at the cinema range from blockbusters, such as Spider-Man and Pirates of the Caribbean, to smaller, more specialised films. The film distributor will acquire a film to distribute in different ways. A major studio distributor, such as Warner Brothers, Disney or Sony, is given a steady supply of films by the studio.
They are the big Hollywood studios that as a rule, tend to produce the big Hollywood movies, which puts us in a lot of a different position than the smaller independents, which are often looking to buy movies themselves from festivals or whatever, rather than make them themselves, whereas us as a studio are more often than not, actually making the movies on the lot in Hollywood.
The independent distributors who don't make films themselves have to seek out films and acquire the rights to distribute them, visiting film festivals around the world, looking for products that they think they can market successfully.
When you acquire a film at a festival, you have to think very quickly because you have the length of the film pretty much to determine who your audience is.
Therefore, the distributor needs to get the film seen by as many people as possible.
The role of the film distributor in the film chain is very much as the representative of the studio in terms of marketing and selling the movies that they produce.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you...
Our responsibility, I feel, is to market that movie to the best of our ability. It's ultimately the people who decide what they watch, and they make that decision based on tons of information from many, many different sources. They formulate what they see and they say yes or no, I'm going to see that.
All right, ladies, off you go.
So what's the starting point of a film's marketing journey to the cinema? Firstly, the distributor must decide what are the elements of a film which will attract an audience to see it. They must find the film's unique selling point, or U.S.P.
It's marketing jargon, really. Another way people describe, or you try to find the USPs, people describe it as finding the hook of a film.
That's the one line that allows you to describe that movie and for people to understand what that movie is about. American blockbusters, it's very easy. King Kong is a movie about a giant ape. Jaws is a movie about a shark that kills people off a beach.
One's always looking for a unique selling point in a film, basically, because you want to differ yourself from everybody else. Have you got sellable cast? Are the cast names well known? The next most important thing for me is the actual genre of the film. And what I try and do, and what we try and do in the team, is try and really pinpoint what we've got. What genre of film is it? Is it a romantic comedy? Is it a horror? Is it a drama?
I love you. Come back to me.
As well as thinking about what is unique about their film, the distributor also needs to consider who they think will want to see the film, the target audience for their marketing campaign.
It's a function of the marketplace that the most frequent cinema goers are either in the sort of 15 to 24-year-old age group, teenagers, students, young adults, or family groups. Those tend to be what we call the core audience, the most frequent cinema goers. Films which are targeted away from those sectors, films which try to appeal to other groups, perhaps older audiences, for example, have to be really exceptional to sustain a viable theatrical life.
It's not just art, it's a business too, and this film needs to sell, it needs to reach as many people as possible. So it's trying to broaden out a film to its most widest audience, because in the end it's about making cash.
The distributor needs to attract as many people as possible to see their film in order to make cash. But what are the key elements in attracting an audience?
Who is this movie going to appeal to? Who is its audience? And then from there, it's trying to develop a campaign which is going to best communicate to that audience.
As well as thinking about who will see the film and why, the distributor also needs to think about when to release their film.
One of the first important decisions that a distributor will ever make is when is the best time to release this film, this particular film. How can I put it into the marketplace where it's got the best possible chance?
There are all kinds of factors, things that go into advertising, things that go into audience patterns and all kinds of things. I mean, you know, an obvious one is school holidays, the whole sort of school year, in terms of, you know, when you would release a picture that might be for younger audiences. Hence, the summer months, every summer is absolutely full with all the huge blockbusters that kids will go and see.
My butt is itching up a storm and I can't reach it. Oh, get it? Scratch that thing!
With the big franchise movies, and by that I mean movies like Da Vinci Code, Spider-Man, those movies, when they're greenlit by the studio, tend to be made with a release date in mind.
Did no one come to save me just because they missed me?
If you've got a big Pirates of the Caribbean and you've got an edgy art house film, then you can just as well put the edgy art house film in lots of sort of art house cinemas up and down the country at the same time that Pirates of the Caribbean is, in the hope that people will be so fed up with Pirates of the Caribbean after a few days that they'll want an alternative.
10 years or so ago, you might have been able to say, well, there are certain quiet periods of the year, there are certain downtimes, maybe outside of the school holidays. Today, I think it's a 52-week slam bang business, non-stop. If there's a big film there, it will normally, thanks to effective distribution, it will normally bring an audience with it.
Even having carefully selected a release date, there are still problems that the distributor has to face.
So you may find the absolutely perfect date and you're sitting there happy as Larry and you're starting to make all your posters and all your bits and pieces and you think, oh, there's not many similar films on that date, I'll be all right. And then lo and behold, a couple of months before you're about to release, some great big movie that's similar to yours comes and lands on your date. And then you've got a problem. Then you're competing for the same audience.
We want Homer! We want Homer!
You need to make a really tough decision, which is, do I stick it out really playing my U.S.Ps, or do I move?
Look into your heart and you will find the answer.
Having defined their target audience, the distributor now needs to know what this audience might think about the film. And it's here that research plays an important role.
Film research is important to distribution because so much money is spent on the making and marketing of films that in this day and age you can't take a risk with opening a film without knowing that you've got either the best possible film or the best possible marketing materials for your film to stand out in the marketplace.
We do quite a lot of research by showing the film to carefully selected groups of people demographically represent the total cinema audience. They see the movie, usually 350, 400 people see it, they fill out a questionnaire, and that gives us a fairly clear view of what appeals to whom.
Research is important and it comes into play at very different times. We can do research well in advance of testing materials such as poster ideas, trailers, even concepts for movies. Sometimes they test in the States, but ideas of kind of, as I say, the visuals, the trailer, and making sure that it's meeting people's expectations, that it's delivering to the audience that we want it to in the way, and communicating the things that we want it to.
Oh, yes! That's lovely.
What we have to do is to listen to audiences and interpret what they are saying, and in turn then make recommendations to a studio, to a distributor, and say, OK, this is your marketing hook, and now let's look at how we can define that for you.
Test screenings of movies in advance where we get a recruited audience, again, of what we believe is the target audience for that film, to see the film. People fill in questionnaires at the end of that movie.
Finding a research audience is a complete craft. We have teams of people who go out and literally pound the streets finding an audience. We have our audience defined by the distributor, and they will tell us what sort of age they think they are, what kinds of people they think they are, what kinds of other movies they might have seen that they would like. And then we have teams of experienced recruiters who go out and literally hunt down the right people for an audience and invite them in to see the movie.
You're wonderful.
Don't ever forget it.
Once the USP and target audience have been defined, the distributor must now decide how much money they're going to spend on marketing their film. Deciding on a budget is a mixture of experience and guesswork.
Foundation stone is obviously how much money we're going to spend in marketing that movie in the first place. And that decision often comes from looking at the movie and sitting down collectively as a team and working out what we feel that the movie can take in the box office in the UK. And from that, trying to set an appropriate budget level that will enable us to reach the box office potential that we believe that film has got.
Someone sits down and says, I've seen the movie, I think it's going to take X in my country. And then he says, I can afford to spend 25-35% of that estimate on advertising. But the estimate is a guess. It's based on the same gut instinct. It can be wrong, because no one ever knows in the movie business. You don't know.
The whole trick with film distribution is trying to make every pound go as far as you possibly can. So to stretch your marketing budget as far as it will go. So you need to cater that advertising to the film.
Once they've worked out how much they think a film will make at the box office and how much they're going to spend, the marketing team now need to decide how they're going to sell their film. What are the opportunities open to the distributor to make cinema goers aware of their film?
Bring the noise.
AdPub, as we refer to it, is the all-encompassing advertising and publicity budget, everything within that.
That was brilliant.
It's broken down into 3 key sections. So you've got your advertising, which is your straightforward media. So that's what you're paying for on television, paying for on outdoor, big bill posters, 6 sheets in bus shelters, newspaper advertising. So all those things go into the media line. Within that, you have to allow some costs for producing those adverts. So, the cost of producing TV ads and of radio spots and all those things, that's quite a costly business as well. You've got promotions in terms of third-party promotions, but it also can be media promotions. So working, for instance, with a radio partner such as Virgin Radio and doing a weeks-long promotion with the Christian O'Connell Show to promote a movie. That's something that we would pay for and work with Virgin to develop a prize fund and a promotion to do that with.
I'm pregnant.
With a baby?
Yes.
And what are you hitting on me for?
There's the premiere as well, which fits within the publicity side and increasingly is quite a major part of activity.
There's got to be a better way for us to get to a broader audience.
1, 2, 3, hit me!
If you've got a big name actor who's coming to do a major premiere, which can get you a lot of coverage within the media, which is what we're interested in doing.
Tom Cruise!
Hey.
It's all about what audience you're trying to get to and where that audience might see your advertising.
There's a lot of options open to you, and it's a case of choosing primarily who's this movie going to appeal best to, and what are the best communication channels and the best routes to use to reach them in the most effective way.